We are the forgotten hunters of the void. When all others retreat, we advance. When light fades, we thrive. You will not see us until it is too late. Your fear is our sustenance, your death our purpose, for we are the Carcharodons, and the Emperor's enemies must know terror before they know death.
Carcharodons, hunters from the darkness of the void. In the dark recesses of the Imperium, among the shadows that prowl the fringes of the galaxy, there exist warriors loyal to the Emperor, yet far removed from Imperial teachings and traditions. Among these shadowy forces, perhaps the most terrifying are the Carcharodons Chapter, predators who emerge from the depths of space to hunt their prey with merciless efficiency. Within the vast universe of Warhammer 40,0, the Carcharodons, also known as space sharks, stand shrouded in mystery and dread. Their obscure origins, savage combat tactics, and isolated existence set them apart from other Space Marine chapters. Dwelling in the distant borders of the Imperium, in the void between stars, these warriors only emerge when an enemy threatens the Imperium or when their resources become depleted. In this comprehensive examination, we will explore the dark history of the Carcharodons Chapter, their mysterious origins, ruthless warfare methods, and the isolated existence they maintain in the farthest reaches of the Imperium. The story of these warriors, who instill fear on the battlefield through their brutality, constitutes one of the darkest and least known pages of the Warhammer 40,0 universe. The mystery of origins, dark beginnings. The origin of the Carcharodons Chapter remains a subject of debate and speculation. Even in official Imperial records, ambiguities persist about their past. Imperial historians and future generations lack definitive information regarding the chapter's history. Among prevailing theories, the most common suggests that the Carcharodons derive from the gene seed of Raven Guard Primarch Corvus Corax. This theory finds support in the chapter's tactical approaches and genetic anomalies. Like the Raven Guard, the Carcharodons prefer rapid assault tactics and strike terror in their enemies. Additionally, a genetic anomaly observed in both chapters causes warriors' skin to pale and their eyes to darken over time. However, these similarities do not establish a definitive connection. The melanochroma organ present in Raven Guard gene seed typically turns Raven Guard Space Marine skin and hair coal black, but in the Carcharodons, this process appears reversed. Their skin is pale, almost ash-colored, and their eyes completely black. The Terran-born theory and Ashen Claws. Some Imperial historians propose that the Carcharodons' origins trace back to Terran-born Raven Guard warriors. This theory points to the period before Corvus Corax assumed control of his legion. When Corvus Corax took command of his legion, a division existed between Terran-born warriors and new recruits from the planet Deliverance. Corax found the Terran-born warriors harsh and ruthless, deeming them incompatible with his legion's values. Some of these Terran-born warriors later formed a group known as the Ashen Claws and were dispatched on distant missions. The connection with the Carcharodons emerges at this point. According to theory, some or all members of the Ashen Claws eventually transformed into or laid the foundation for the chapter known as the Carcharodons. This theory might explain why the Carcharodons operate far from the Imperium's central regions at the galaxy's edges. The Horus Heresy in exile. Another significant turning point in Carcharodons' history occurred during or immediately after the Horus Heresy. Some records suggest that the chapter, or their legion unit at the time, remained loyal during the heresy but was distanced from the Imperium's central authority due to their savage and merciless tactics. This exile theory could explain why the Carcharodons are known as Void Dwellers and why they operate far from the Imperium's central regions. Though officially sanctioned by the Imperium, they seem long forgotten or disregarded. The Nomad-Predation philosophy. Regardless of their origins, the Carcharodons embrace a lifestyle called Nomad-Predation. According to this philosophy, the chapter remains in constant motion, hunting to seize resources when needed. This lifestyle ensures the chapter's self-sufficiency over extended periods. Moving from planet to planet, system to system, they capture the recruits and resources they require. This behavior pattern leads them to approach Imperial worlds only when a threat emerges or their resources deplete. Chapter Culture and Organization. The Red Tithe. One of the most striking cultural practices of the Carcharodons is the tradition known as the Red Tithe. This practice explains how the chapter obtains new recruits and resources. The Red Tithe involves the Carcharodons conducting sudden raids on certain worlds, taking young and strong individuals as tribute. These worlds generally lie in distant corners of the Imperium, far from central authority. The raids typically occur swiftly and mercilessly. The chapter arrives at night, takes the individuals they need, and then vanishes. This practice is necessary for the chapter's sustainability. Living far from the Imperium's central regions, the Carcharodons cannot utilize normal recruitment methods. The Red Tithe ensures their survival and maintains their warrior numbers. Some worlds regularly pay tribute to the Carcharodons. These worlds typically remain under the chapter's protection and defense against external threats. Other worlds face sudden and unexpected visits from the chapter. Cultural isolation and rituals. Prolonged isolation has led the Carcharodons to develop a unique culture. This culture contains savage and primitive elements but is also highly disciplined. The chapter's rituals and traditions reference space sharks. Warriors tattoo shark motifs on their bodies and adorn their armor with shark teeth and symbols of other sea predators. These symbols reflect the chapter's predatory nature. Carcharodons prefer silence and minimal communication. Conversations among warriors generally remain brief and contain only necessary information. This silent and mysterious demeanor also manifests in their interactions with other Imperial forces. The hierarchy among warriors is rigid, using titles from ancient times. For instance, the chapter's leader is known as Tyberos the Red Wake, a title that serves as both a name and a rank. Organization and command structure. The Carcharodons follow the basic structure of the Codex Astartes but employ their own traditions and terminology. The chapter consists of approximately 10 space marines divided into various companies. The chapter's command structure differs from other chapters. The leader bears the title Tyberos the Red Wake, the Chapter Master. This title refers to the Red Wake created when a shark pursues its prey, symbolizing the chapter's predatory nature. Company captains and other high-ranking officers receive designations using ancient terminology. These titles reflect the chapter's unique cultural heritage and their isolation from mainstream Imperial culture. Combat tactics and warfare. The Nomad-Predation fleet. The Carcharodons operate from a fleet of warships that serves as their mobile fortress monastery. This fleet, known as the Nomad-Predation fleet, contains vessels of various sizes and classes. Many of these ships are ancient, dating back to the Great Crusade or even earlier periods. The fleet includes several battle barges, strike cruisers, and numerous escort vessels. The chapter flagship, Nikor, stands as one of the most fearsome vessels in the fleet. Named after an ancient Terran sea monster, the ship possesses formidable firepower and has participated in countless battles. The Nomad-Predation fleet allows the Carcharodons to remain mobile and independent. They can strike anywhere in the galaxy and retreat to the void between stars when necessary. This mobility provides a strategic advantage in warfare, and ensures the chapter's survival in hostile environments. Terror, tactics, and brutal efficiency. The Carcharodons combat doctrine emphasizes terror tactics and brutal efficiency. Unlike other Space Marine chapters that might fight with honor or follow strict codes of conduct, the Carcharodons employ whatever means necessary to achieve victory. Their typical strategy involves sudden, overwhelming assaults that paralyze the enemy with fear. The chapter often attacks at night or during conditions of limited visibility, using their enhanced senses to navigate and locate targets. This approach resembles the hunting patterns of their namesake predators. Once engaged in combat, Carcharodons warriors fight with a cold, detached brutality. They show no mercy to their enemies and often mutilate or display corpses to instill fear in survivors. This psychological warfare proves particularly effective against Xenos, races, and heretical forces. Close-quarter combat specialists. While the Carcharodons demonstrate proficiency in all aspects of warfare, they excel particularly in close-quarter combat. Their warriors train extensively in hand-to-hand fighting techniques and often employ melee weapons such as power axes, chain swords, and lightning claws. The chapter's elite units, including the Terminator armored veterans known as Devourers, specialize in boarding actions and zone mortalis operations. These warriors can clear enemy vessels or fortifications with terrifying efficiency, leaving behind only destruction and death. This focus on close combat reflects the chapter's predatory nature and their preference for direct confrontation with enemies. Like sharks in the ancient oceans of Terra, they close with their prey and strike with devastating force. The blood hunger. Reports from Imperial forces who have witnessed the Carcharodons in battle describe a phenomenon known as the blood hunger or red thirst. In the heat of combat, Carcharodons warriors sometimes enter a state of heightened aggression and bloodlust, becoming even more brutal and savage than usual. This condition resembles the red thirst that afflicts the Blood Angels and their successor chapters, leading some to speculate about a possible connection between the two. However, the blood hunger manifests differently in the Carcharodons, appearing as a cold, calculated frenzy rather than the hot-blooded rage of the Blood Angels. Whether this condition results from a gene seed flaw, deliberate conditioning, or some other factor remains unknown. The chapter maintains secrecy regarding this aspect of their combat doctrine, further adding to their mysterious nature. Notable campaigns and battles. The Badab War. The Carcharodons gained significant notoriety during the Badab War, a civil conflict within the Imperium that occurred in the late 40th millennium. The chapter appeared unexpectedly to support the Loyalist forces against the secessionist chapters led by Lufgit Huron of the Astral Claws. Prior to this conflict, the Carcharodons had minimal recorded interaction with Imperial forces. Their sudden appearance surprised both the Loyalists and the secessionists, and their brutal combat methods shocked even veteran Space Marines from other chapters. During the Badab War, the Carcharodons demonstrated their prowess in void warfare and planetary assaults. They played a crucial role in several key battles, including the Tranquility Campaign and the assault on Badab Primaris. Their actions earned them recognition from Imperial authorities and secured valuable war material as spoils. The chapter's involvement in this conflict confirmed their continued loyalty to the Imperium despite their long isolation. It also provided the first detailed accounts of their combat doctrine and organizational structure in recent Imperial history. Encounters with Tyranid hive fleets. The Carcharodons have engaged in numerous battles against Tyranid hive fleets in the galaxy's outer regions. These encounters often go unrecorded in official Imperial histories due to the remote locations where they occur. The chapter's nomadic lifestyle makes them well suited for intercepting Tyranid splinter fleets before they reach heavily populated Imperial worlds. Their experience in void warfare and boarding actions proves particularly effective against Tyranid bioships. One notable encounter occurred with a splinter fleet of Hive Fleet Leviathan in the Outer Reach. The Carcharodons engaged the Tyranid forces in a series of hit-and-run attacks, targeting Synapse creatures and vital bioships. Their strategy disrupted the Hive Mind's control over its forces, allowing the chapter to destroy the splinter fleet piece by piece. These victories against the Tyranids demonstrate the chapter's effectiveness against Xenos threats and their value to the Imperium, despite their unorthodox methods and isolated existence. The persecution of the Mantis warriors. Following the Badab War, the Carcharodons received the right to claim Red Tithe from the worlds of the Mantis warriors, one of the secessionist chapters that had been defeated. This punishment lasted for 100 years, and significantly weakened the already decimated Mantis warriors. The Carcharodons conducted regular raids on these worlds, taking the strongest and most promising young men as recruits. This practice provided the chapter with a steady supply of new aspirants, and served as a constant reminder of the consequences of betraying the Imperium. The persecution of the Mantis warriors exemplifies the Carcharodons' role as executors of imperial judgment. Though not officially part of the Adeptus Astartes' punitive forces, they function effectively as agents of retribution against those who violate imperial law or tradition. Genetic heritage and physical characteristics. The pale skin and black eyes. The most distinctive physical characteristics of Carcharodons Astartes are their pale, almost corpse-like skin and their solid black eyes. These traits become more pronounced with age, with veteran warriors displaying skin as white as parchment and eyes like pools of liquid darkness. These features differ markedly from those of most other Space Marine chapters, including the Raven Guard, their suspected progenitors. While Raven Guard Astartes develop increasingly pale skin and dark eyes over time, the effect appears far more extreme in the Carcharodons. Some tech priests and apothecaries speculate that these traits result from a mutation in the melanochroma organ, which regulates pigmentation in Space Marines. Others suggest environmental factors, such as prolonged exposure to the void or radiation from ancient warp travel, might cause these changes. Whatever the cause, these physical characteristics contribute to the Carcharodons' intimidating appearance and reinforce their shark-like image. When combined with their silent demeanor and brutal combat methods, these features make them objects of fear and superstition among both enemies and allies. Enhanced sensory capabilities. Reports indicate that Carcharodons possess enhanced sensory capabilities beyond those of typical Space Marines. They can operate effectively in conditions of near-total darkness, track targets by scent or minute vibrations, and detect enemies at extreme ranges. These abilities resemble the sensory adaptations of oceanic predators, particularly sharks, which can detect blood in water from great distances and sense the electrical fields generated by living organisms. Whether these capabilities result from gene seed modifications, implanted augmetics, or specialized training remains unclear. The chapter exploits these enhanced senses in their combat doctrine, preferring to engage enemies in conditions that maximize their sensory advantage. Night assaults, underwater operations, and actions in smoke-filled or foggy environments feature prominently in their recorded battles. Genetic stability and purity. Despite their unusual physical characteristics, the Carcharodons maintain relatively stable gene seed with few catastrophic mutations. This stability suggests careful management of their genetic heritage despite their isolation from the Imperium's central authorities. The chapter's apothecaries diligently collect and preserve the gene seed of fallen battle brothers, ensuring the continuation of their lineage. They also monitor aspirants for signs of unacceptable mutation or corruption, maintaining the purity of their genetic line. This focus on genetic stability contrasts with the chapter's willingness to adopt extreme tactics and their apparent disregard for many Imperial conventions. It suggests that beneath their savage exterior lies a disciplined adherence to certain fundamental principles of the Adeptus Astartes. Notable characters: Tyberos the Red Wake. The most famous member of the Carcharodons is their chapter master, Tyberos the Red Wake. A massive warrior, even by Space Marine standards, Tyberos towers over his battle brothers and wields a pair of lightning claw gauntlets modified with additional chainsaw blades, known collectively as Hunger and Slake. Tyberos led the chapter during the Badab War and continues to serve as their master in the current era. His tactical acumen and ferocity in combat have earned him respect even among other chapter masters, though many find his methods distasteful. Unlike many Space Marine commanders, Tyberos rarely speaks and never removes his helmet in the presence of outsiders. His actual appearance remains unknown to all but his closest brothers, adding to his mystique and intimidating presence. As chapter master, Tyberos embodies the Carcharodons' predatory nature and their commitment to the Imperium's survival despite their unorthodox methods. He navigates the difficult balance between maintaining the chapter's independence and fulfilling their duty to the Emperor. Baal Shar. Baal Shar serves as the chapter champion of the Carcharodons, a position of great honor and responsibility. He acts as Tyberos' personal champion and bodyguard, facing enemy champions in single combat and protecting the chapter master in battle. A veteran of countless engagements, Shar wields a master-crafted power sword and wears artificer armor adorned with shark teeth and other trophies. His combat record includes victories over orc war bosses, chaos champions, and even a Tyranid hive tyrant. Unlike many of his brothers, Shar occasionally interacts with representatives of other Imperial organizations, serving as the chapter's voice when necessary. This role has earned him a reputation for cold efficiency and unwavering loyalty to both his chapter and the broader Imperium. Signifer Nicodemus. The chief librarian of the Carcharodons, Signifer Nicodemus, stands as one of the chapter's most enigmatic figures. As keeper of the chapter's history and lore, he possesses knowledge about their origins and purpose that remains hidden from outsiders. Nicodemus demonstrates powerful psychic abilities, particularly in the divination and telekinesis disciplines. He often foresees threats to the chapter or the Imperium, guiding the Nomad-Predation fleet to where they are most needed. The chief librarian's role extends beyond combat support. He maintains the chapter's few remaining relics and ancient texts, preserving the knowledge and traditions that form their identity. His counsel influences chapter strategy and ensures continuity with their mysterious past. Equipment and armory. Ancient weaponry and armor. The Carcharodons possess an arsenal of ancient weapons and armor, many dating back to the Great Crusade or even the Dark Age of technology. These relics include rare patterns of power armor, exotic weapons, and technological devices no longer produced in the Imperium. Their armor typically bears distinctive modifications, including reinforced helmets resembling shark heads, serrated blades attached to gauntlets and greaves, and surface patterns reminiscent of shark skin. These modifications serve both practical and psychological purposes, enhancing combat effectiveness while intimidating enemies. The chapter favors certain weapon types, particularly those suited for close-quarter combat. Chain weapons, power axes, and lightning claws feature prominently in their armory, often modified with additional blades or serrated edges to inflict maximum damage. The Void Adapted Armor. Carcharodons frequently operate in void environments and other hostile conditions that would challenge even standard Space Marine equipment. To address these challenges, they have developed specialized, void-adapted variants of their armor and weapons. These modifications include enhanced life support systems, radiation shielding, and specialized propulsion units for zero-gravity combat. The chapter's tech marines continuously refine these adaptations based on battlefield experience and recovered archaeotech. The Void-adapted equipment enables Carcharodons to fight effectively in environments that would disadvantage or even incapacitate other forces. This capability proves particularly valuable during shipboarding actions and operations on airless moons or asteroids. Trophies and tribal markings. Like many Space Marine chapters, the Carcharodons collect trophies from defeated enemies. Unlike others, however, they focus on specific parts that reflect their predatory nature: teeth, claws, and bone fragments that resemble the anatomy of oceanic predators. These trophies adorn their armor, vehicles, and ships, creating a distinctive tribal aesthetic unique to the chapter. Combined with ritual scarification, tattoos, and other body modifications, these elements reinforce their identity as hunters and instill fear in their enemies. The practice of collecting and displaying trophies serves several purposes: honoring fallen enemies, recording battle honors, and creating psychological weapons that demoralize opponents before combat even begins. The sight of Carcharodon's warriors adorned with gruesome trophies has broken enemy morale on numerous occasions. The Carcharodons in the current era. Response to the Indomitus Crusade. The emergence of the Primaris Space Marines and the launch of Robute Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade presented challenges and opportunities for the Carcharodons. Their isolated status and unique cultural practices raised questions about how they would respond to these developments. Reports suggest that the chapter has cautiously accepted Primaris reinforcements and technology, incorporating these new warriors into their ranks while maintaining their distinctive culture and combat doctrine. Primaris Carcharodons undergo the same rituals and modifications as their firstborn brothers, including tribal scarification and trophy collection. The chapter's response demonstrates their pragmatic approach to survival and warfare. While preserving their identity and independence, they recognize the value of Primaris enhancements in their endless war against the Imperium's enemies. Territorial range and current operations. In the current era, the Carcharodons continue their nomadic existence, patrolling the galaxy's outer reaches and responding to threats beyond the Imperium's normal defensive perimeter. Their operations focus particularly on regions affected by the Cicatrix Maledictum, the great warp rift that has divided the galaxy. The chapter's fleet has been sighted in multiple sectors, suggesting they maintain their traditional mobility despite the challenges of warp travel in the post-rift era. Their ability to operate independently of established supply lines and support networks makes them particularly valuable in isolated regions cut off from Imperial authority. Current operations reportedly include actions against Chaos forces in the Imperium Nihilus, interdiction of Xenos threats in the Galactic Halo, and occasional support for beleaguered Imperial worlds beyond the reach of conventional reinforcement. Relations with other Imperial forces. The Carcharodons maintain limited but significant relationships with certain Imperial organizations. They coordinate occasionally with the Imperial Navy and rogue traders operating in the galaxy's fringes, sharing intelligence about threats and coordinating responses when necessary. Their relations with other Space Marine chapters remain complex. Some, particularly those with similar isolation or those who fought alongside them in the Badab War, maintain respectful if distant connections. Others view the Carcharodons with suspicion or outright disdain, considering their methods excessive and their loyalty questionable due to their long isolation. Inquisitorial interest in the chapter persists, with members of both the Ordo Hereticus and Ordo Xenos monitoring their activities when possible. Though no formal investigations have been launched in recent times, the chapter's mysterious origins and unorthodox practices continue to attract scrutiny. Conclusion: The Carcharodons Chapter represents one of the most enigmatic and terrifying forces within the Imperium's arsenal. Their mysterious origins, predatory combat doctrine, and isolated existence set them apart from the majority of Space Marine chapters, creating a unique identity that inspires fear and fascination in equal measure. Despite their long isolation from Imperial society and their often brutal methods, the Carcharodons maintain unwavering loyalty to the Emperor and the Imperium he created. They serve as silent guardians of humanity's fringes, striking without warning at threats that would otherwise go unchallenged. In the grim darkness of the far future, where the Imperium faces threats from without and within, the Carcharodons continue their eternal hunt through the void between stars. Like their oceanic namesakes, they remain apex predators, ensuring that even in the darkest reaches of space, the enemies of mankind have reason to fear the shadows. As the galaxy enters an era of unprecedented turmoil, following the formation of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the role of chapters like the Carcharodons becomes increasingly vital. Their ability to operate independently in hostile environments, their experience fighting a wide variety of foes, and their unwavering determination make them invaluable assets in humanity's struggle for survival. The story of the Carcharodons serves as a reminder that in the harsh reality of the 40th millennium, survival often requires methods that might be considered extreme or barbaric in more civilized times. In the endless war against chaos, xenos, and heresy, such predators may be exactly what humanity needs to endure the darkness.